We are back, and we just finished watching 2023's Wicked Little Letters, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 40 minutes. This is by director Thea Sharrock and written by Jonny Sweet, and is currently streaming on Netflix or to buy rent on Prime Video. This is based on true events that happened, I guess, in the early 1900s, where these scandalous, vulgar letters started appearing, addressed to someone named Edith Swan, who's brilliantly played here by Olivia Colman, and how another person in the I guess in the neighborhood, Rose Gooding, also exquisitely played here by Jessie Buckley, is, I guess, condemned for being the author of these very, very wicked little letters.
She's the prime suspect.
She is the prime suspect. I'm going to go around the table and get impressions. I'm going to start with Olive G. What did you think of the film? I think we can spoil it. It's from last year.
No, don't spoil it. Don't give away the very end. It's part of it is a bit of a mystery. And I mean, if you want to spoil it, let's save it for the very end, where we could tell people good night and whatever. And,
okay. You want to do it like that?
Okay. But otherwise, no, don't. I mean, you could say what you want, but don't say who's writing the letters.
Don't give away the ending, I guess. I mean, we can deep dive if you want, or we can leave it open ended. How about this, Olive? You tell me up until the big reveal at the end. Did you like this film?
Yeah, I liked it.
Did you find it funny?
Yeah, I did. It was a good movie. It was funny.
Did you find the story interesting?
Yeah, I like mysteries, so like this was interesting.
Who was your favorite character, and why?
Like, it's so hard to pick because like the female cast on this is like so fire.
It is fire, a fire female character.
Because like Officer Moss, like she's like great. Like she like didn't listen to her superiors when they like told her off, and honestly, like, you know, like she actually was like able to solve the case like all by herself basically. But you know, it's like, and like she came up with like that whole scheme and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, like she's so smart. And I also like the rest of the group that not Gladys, Edith hung out with, like the
the other women,
the chicken lady, the old lady, and the post office lady. But I only liked her up until the end. Like, I would agree, because, like, honestly, she was kind of annoying in the beginning.
You mean you liked her at the end, not up until the end?
Yeah.
You're talking about the post office lady.
Yeah. She was honestly...
She was more helpful at the end than she was towards the beginning.
Right. Well, I guess she was also thinking that Rose was responsible for this.
And I also really like Rose, because, you know, like...
Rose is awesome.
Yeah, she's like cool and stuff like that.
Yeah, says what's on her mind.
Yeah.
So we're going to give a shout out to Joanna Scanlan as Anne. She is the chicken lady, I guess we'll call her. Eileen Atkins, who played Mabel. She was the older woman. And also Lolly Adefope. I apologize if I said that wrong, but Kate, the post office woman.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we've seen her in something else because the name Lolly is ringing a bell.
G, what did you think of the film?
I loved it.
It was good, right?
It was real good. It was super entertaining. Like, we tried watching a different film before this.
You could say how much you hated that other film.
It was really bad. It was boring, and I was on my phone, if I'm being honest.
I mean, it put me to sleep. And we don't like when I stopped it was like 32 minutes in. So
yeah, we hadn't even made it like halfway.
Yeah,
it was terrible.
Hot Snowball or something.
Hot Frosty. Also on Netflix, but we absolutely do not recommend that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's gonna get finished.
Warned off by the trailer.
If you want to like torture someone, then like play that movie.
Yes,
But back to this one.
But back to this.
What did you like about it?
This movie Hot Frosty was bad. And then you changed it, and I was like, okay, hopefully this one's better. And it was. I didn't go on my phone, and I was on the edge of my seat.
Yes, same. I was like, what the hell is going to happen here?
So I could, like, see it even closer.
Yeah, I agree. Did you have a favorite character in the film?
I liked Olivia. I liked, like, all the female cast. What's her name? Kate was the post office lady. Like Olivia said, she wasn't really that cool until the end. She kind of looked like a rag. Yeah, I like the old lady Mabel, and Mabel I like Anne. They do Rose a favor, at sort of like early to middle in the film that I thought was really nice. And Anne was such a fun character. She's talking about like her boiled eggs and whatnot.
Yeah.
I like that scene.
Nuts. And I loved how she critiqued her own hygiene.
Yeah, that was funny. And Rose, obviously, I liked her. She was funny too. And Gladys was also great.
Gladys was great. Gladys was the MVP. I mean, she's the one that solves the case.
I always like characters that when they told to like stop something, they like
Forge
disobey orders and do what they want.
Well, she did it, I think, out of sense of duty and like legacy, right? Because her father was a policeman and obviously took his job seriously. We don't know too much of a backstory, but obviously he's passed and she's sort of taken on this mantle. Whether she wanted to or not, maybe it felt like it was almost like a family business. Like I inherited this thing to do. So.
But I don't know. I think she might have just looked up to him. Like her niece looked up to her.
Right.
And she had a knack for it. She was the only one who was like
using
analytically thinking and using her brain.
Yeah.
Whereas, let's be honest, I guess her peer was just a buffoon.
Yeah,
he was
the guy Fleabag's boyfriend or whatever.
Hugh Skinner, who played Constable Paperwick.
He ran in talking about amethysts or something.
Yeah.
To
Oh,
the
yeah.
commissioner.
Yeah.
His big contribution to the case was we found a psychic
Yeah.
who's got a really big amethyst.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the chief,
Constable Spaulding, played by Paul
He was a
Shahidi.
fat little bald man who wasn't good at his job.
And when he was angry, it was almost like scary.
well, I mean, there's the whole theme in the film of that
Suppressing women.
back then, especially back then, women were very suppressed. I mean, all of them. And Rose really just bucks that norm just through her existence.
Right.
But then there's Gladys, Edith, who is just sort of piled on. Oh my God, Edith's dad.
Yeah.
Edith's dad was the biggest piece of crap in this movie.
Yes.
Played by that guy who
Timothy Spall.
Yeah,
Who's like this mousy thing.
Yeah, he was
in Potter. He was in those Potter
He
films.
was the guy who was a mouse, wasn't he?
Yes, he was Weasley's mouse. Yeah.
But
who then winds up betraying them.
Yeah,
that was that guy?
Yeah, he was thicker back then.
What was his name? Like Peter Pettigrew or something?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep. You got it.
Yeah,
but he was just terrible in this movie.
Terrible.
Not his performance. His performance was great.
Fantastic.
Playing a bastard, a complete bastard.
Just a complete bastard, yes. I'm going to be a parent right now because I'm like, yes, I agree.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of that theme of women should know their place.
Yes.
And that's it. And this film has a lot of strong women who
buck that
trend. I like how by the end of the movie, Gladys isn't woman police officer.
She's just police officer.
But
I also like the exchange that she had with Rose because she introduces herself as woman police officer Moss. And she goes, I'm not saying all that. She's just like, I'm going to call you Officer Moss.
I can see that you're a woman.
I can see that you're a woman. Yes.
I like that scene.
Yes. It's like we're repeating the obvious here. Yeah. And just, I'm so happy that we pivoted and watched this instead. I think that this had been a film on my list for a while now. I'd heard really great things about it, and it absolutely lives up to the hype. Absolutely. The writing is impeccable. The performances are phenomenal. Even like the lesser characters, like the constable, like the coworker, like these stupid, arrogant men. Obviously, stereotypes of that. I mean, I'm sure people like that existed. Very narrow-minded, very simple-minded, very much wanting to crush the female colleague down. But I think that here it's obviously done for comedy, but also to your point, highlight how women lived in the early 1900s.
Yeah. Was this ever released?
Yeah, it was out in the theater. It was, but it wasn't like a big thing. It was just, I think, very limited release. Let me look on the IMDb page. I don't think it made any.
Yeah, I don't recall it ever being advertised on TV or anything like that. The first time I ever noticed it.
It did pretty decent. Well, I don't know. It doesn't tell you the budget. Ah, okay. The U.S. and Canada was about $5 million, but the gross worldwide is about $27 million. But they don't tell you how much the film cost.
I can't imagine this was a costly movie.
No.
I mean, the sets were nice. It is a period piece, so there's a little bit of added cost there. But
and you have big names like Olivia Colman, who is an Oscar winner and stuff.
She is, but she is also an English actor
who just wants to work.
Hey, give me a job.
Yeah,
I'll do it. They have an extremely strong work ethic.
Oh, wait. You know what? This actually came out this year, April 5th of 2024. Why did I think it was last year? It says 2023 on the top.
Weird.
Maybe it was released internationally then, or I would imagine this was an international movie before it became a domestic release.
It was filmed in London, and its countries of origin: United Kingdom, United States, and France. France is
Studio Canal.
Yeah, France is ponying up a lot of money lately. How about you?
I love this film. I thought this was great.
Better than Hot Frosty?
Well, I wasn't going to review Hot Frosty with you. I was just sitting there with you guys, and I was the one who noticed that you had fallen asleep.
Yeah.
But I could have told you Hot Frosty was hot garbage just by looking at the trailer.
Well, I mean, that was the point, because I was going to do like brain rot Christmas nonsense a la Hallmark, although both movies that I wanted to do were on Netflix. But anyway.
Honestly, like they both look awful. Yeah. One was about like a snowman becoming a man, and the other one was about male strippers at like a strip club. Like, no.
But who's coming up with the plots for these Christmas movies?
Seriously,
I think ChatGPT. And I loved how the snowman's magical scarf always covered his genitals.
Yes.
Oh my god. Yes. I mean, like glued on.
It's a Netflix film that's trying to be like a Hallmark. I mean, listen to me. Those Hallmark movies, they pull in big numbers.
Y'all be making
Netflix wants a little bit of some of that, I think.
I mean, they got, what is her name?
Lacey Chabert.
Yeah. There you go.
She's the queen of the Hallmark
That's one ingredient.
Movies.
Yeah.
So... but back to Wicked Little Letters, which is obviously a superior film. And
I thought that it was great. I liked all the characters. I mean, Olivia Colman's always great.
Fantastic.
Jessie Buckley, the supporting cast, everybody was really, really good.
And it's an interesting story.
It's a fascinating story, especially like the way they started up in the beginning, where it's just like, oh my God, it's everybody sit down and they're reading the letters, and it's just
yes.
And Olivia Colman's mom is the most scandalized British, of all of them, to the point British. Where like she can't even take it.
Right.
Like she literally can't take it. Yeah. The content of these letters.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked the story. I liked the message of strong women. Everybody did it but it wasn't like browbeating you or anything like that. It was, I like British humor. Yes. I've always liked British humor growing up. It was just really good, start to finish. And I like that it was kind of a mystery. I mean, you do find out probably at the 2/3 part of the movie who's writing the letters. Yeah.
Were you surprised?
I had my suspicions, but I wasn't 100% sure. I had like two suspects.
Same.
The reasoning behind it makes 100% sense, to the point where you could see why, and you could see why based upon all the evidence that is presented up to that point, why it started, why it continues, why it almost can't be stopped.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, the only thing I was certain about was that Rose was innocent. I didn't think that, because that wouldn't make sense if it was like the way her character was built from the very get-go. Mm-hmm. If she's got words to say to you, she's going to say those words to you. She's not going to bother writing a damn letter. Screw that.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody's character. I like that Rose's family,
the boyfriend, and
the daughter. Edith's family was so. Oh, you felt like that and like you grow to see what a monster her dad is.
Yeah.
The town,
even like the wife, Edie's mother, even the wife is sort of like kowtowed. Like there's this scene where he's just being belligerent and mean, and she just kind of huddles into herself.
The wife absolutely has been trained to know her place.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it was like back then.
Sure.
You were trained, and the father even, he gives her punishment. It's
like she's a child.
Psalms 22 to 27.
200 times.
200 times. Yeah. And he's like, what are you waiting for?
Right.
So, yeah, there was some excellent writing as far as like giving motives for all the characters and what they're doing. The rest of the town was fleshed out. I didn't feel like any character was just sort of like a throwaway or a joke. Even Gladys's co-workers, Paperwhite, what was that his name?
Yeah, Paperwick, and the chief of police. They served their purpose. They were pretty much as you would expect. I mean, he's like telling bawdy stories is nothing, but right.
Ladies aren't supposed to do that.
Right.
Yeah, really enjoyable. I like this film from start to finish. I didn't see anything in it that bothered me.
Yeah, and even like Bill, the boyfriend, and Nancy, the daughter, who, fun fact, I kept looking at her and I'm like, where do I know her from? Do you remember?
The daughter did look familiar to me, but I can't remember where.
It was Abigail.
Oh, really? She was the little girl from Abigail.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I know, same. I was like looking at her, and I'm like, who is this?
It's a big year for that kid.
Yeah. Just getting there out in front of the cameras. And this is interesting because it's definitely different than Abigail.
Oh, yeah. This is, I mean, Abigail was okay, but this is better than Abigail.
Oh, my God. Leaps and bounds. I'm going to go around the table and get numbers. Olive G, I'm going to start with you.
I'll give this a 9.
A 9?
This movie was like amazing. I really like this movie. I love mystery movies.
Very nice.
I'll even tolerate it if it's like one of those old movies, because you know how I roll my eyes at it. Mm-hmm. But like if it's a mystery movie, I'll be like, I'll be interested.
Oh, that's good to know. Mm-hmm. We'll have to get more mystery on the docket. What about you, Gigi?
I'll also give this a 9. Just because I'm not a big fan of mysteries, if I'm being honest. I can never guess them, so that made me feel dumb. But it was entertaining.
It's not a competition. It's just...
It is to me. And that's how I feel, and that's the end of it. So
what are you, Paul Mescal? Jesus.
I don't understand that. I like this movie, and it kept me entertained, and that's why it's getting a 9.
All right. And plus, strong, positive female representation.
I like that, too, but the main thing was that I wasn't bored during it.
That's a big one.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important one, especially for your generation.
That's the most important thing to me. If it gets boring, I don't like it anymore.
Would you recommend this to your friends?
Probably not.
No?
It's a good movie, but I don't think that any of my friends are really into, I don't know, movies.
Oh, all right. That's too bad.
They're too long?
One of my friends says the movies are too long. The other ones will actually watch, like, sit down and watch, like, shows with, like, seasons after season after season after season, which...
I'm sure somebody's watching Arcane.
Oh, yeah, my friends watch Arcane.
Yeah, which we also have to get on the
Sad.
queue. What do you mean? Oh, that they don't watch movies.
People don't like movies because they're too long.
Well, I said one of my friends doesn't like them because they're too long. My other friends would probably watch movies. I just don't hear them talk about them.
Yeah.
My friends talk about shows more.
Right.
Like one of my friends is always recommending show after show. I don't know how she watches all of them. I don't really watch.
Are they like regular television shows or just animes?
No. If she only just got into anime like a couple of months ago, she just recommends regular shows like Supernatural.
That was excellent.
She likes The Bear.
The Bear was good.
She likes the show 911.
I've heard of it. I can't stand him though.
Who's on that?
What's his name? Andy Samberg, whatever his name is.
Brooklyn Nine-One?
Brooklyn Nine-One.
No, that's
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. One of my friends watches that, but no, my other friend watches 911.
That's one of those like cop shows, right?
Is that like that's on Fox, right? Is that Vivica Fox and like
I don't know. I just know
somebody
that
else.
I just know that it's like a cop show.
It's like it's a regular procedural cop show.
Firefighters, maybe, I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think I know what you're. I think it's all of them.
Does this friend watch Law and Order? Because there's like
I don't know about that.
That's like the granddaddy of.
That's the granddaddy of them all. Or CSI.
I don't know about that. She watches a lot of stuff. My other friends watch stuff like Gossip Girl and Shameless.
Shameless was bawdy, but then it got ridiculous at the end.
It became a parody.
Yeah. Yeah. The first couple of seasons that were strong. I was going to say the same thing with Supernatural. Like, I kind of tapped out. That thing was on for like 20 years, wasn't it?
Close. Maybe 18.
She said that there was supposed to be like 4, I don't know, like 4, 5, or 6 seasons, and then they just kept going.
Yeah. That's
it was supposed
to.
It was supposed to end after, like, believe the 5th season, and they had an ending set up and everything. And
but they were like, "Oh, you're doing great in the ratings."
They were just like, "You are the most highest rated show on our network.
Yeah.
You can't leave. Here's money."
Yes, and what are they going to do?
They just stayed until it dried up.
Yeah, I mean, even the show creator Kripke, like,
he left.
He just was like, "All right."
He was like, "I told my story."
Yeah, Godspeed.
All right, but anyway,
that ending was awful, though.
Weren't you guys just talking about that like a couple hours ago?
The season finale was shite. I mean, I get terrible. That COVID and all this other stuff, but that season finale, it was like, our budget is $250, and we have to do this.
Paint his hair gray and have him tremble his lips.
Yeah,
that's how old people look.
Old people look. Yeah. Oh, let's not talk about it. It's so depressing. You 1 to 10. We get little letters. Rain it in.
You know what? I would also give it a 9. I enjoyed this film a lot.
I too enjoyed this a lot. I'm gonna be peer pressured here, and I'm also gonna give it a 9. I originally thought about an 8.5, but it's better than that. Actually,
it is better than that.
No, this is a solid movie. 9. There's nothing boring. There's no wasted time.
Yeah, the characters are
every character is interesting and fleshed out. Like, there was a part in the movie, I think, when Gladys first goes to the women's club, and it's like the first introduction you get to Mabel and the rest. And I was kind of worried that when she was going to talk to them, they would all be like, "Oh yeah, she probably did it." But then they didn't. They surprised me, and they were just like, "Nah, there's so many people who would have problems with
the Swans."
With the Swans, and
right. And Edith was like, "Oh, but she was tried on my testimony. You don't think so?" And then one was like, "Yeah, no, not really." Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I thought that was funny.
It gave those characters more depth rather than just being, "Oh, they're just random witnesses that aren't going to matter in the rest of the movie,"
or they're just going to be yes people.
Or they're just going to be yes people. It was like, oh, there's depth here. There's layers. There's other stuff going on. And that added to it.
And like G mentioned before, like Mabel and Anne ponied up money to
that also.
Rose.
Yeah. She sold her rotting pig.
That was funny, that story.
She's like, don't tell anybody. He had the pig rot.
I liked her character, Anne. She was so
Anne
funny.
was great.
All the characters were really well done. I enjoyed that. And as we mentioned, the story, the mystery of it.
Yeah, very solid.
The fact that it's about people getting vulgar letters. and that today, it's like, big
we
deal.
Would laugh about it, yeah.
Yeah,
First of all, who's writing letters?
Look at the internet. Just look at any comment section.
Cesspool.
It's this disgusting cesspool.
Yes.
And we just brush it off like dust from our shoulders.
Yeah.
Back then, it was just, oh my God, people died.
Yes. Oh my.
And now it's interesting how times have changed and just how this was such a big deal and how it engrossed the entire, like, to the point where it's engrossing the entire country.
Well, it's hitting the newspapers.
It's hitting the newspapers. Now suddenly hundreds of people are getting letters.
Yeah.
But
hundreds
of letters were going out, and it just became like the sensation. And then you have the ending, and the ending was all the motives are revealed. It's really solid. It's just a solid movie, and that's why I'm giving it a 9.
Okay, same here. For anybody that doesn't want to know, we're going to deep dive a little bit into this because I think that there's some nuances that I kind of just want to go over. But if you don't want to know, again, absolutely run, do not walk, and check out Wicked Little Letters from 2023 according to IMDb, but later down the page it says it was released April of 2024. Doesn't matter, it's fairly new. Absolutely check out Wicked Little Letters by Thea Sharrock.
And now we're going to go into spoilers.
Do you want to give us a brief synopsis of what's going on?
Basically, we eventually do find out who wrote the letters, and it was Edith. She had written the letters to herself, and then based upon that, like the notoriety that this got, it became addictive for her.
Yeah.
And she just couldn't stop herself. And her dad, he hated Rose. He couldn't stand Rose because she was a terrible, according to him, just a terrible example. And he hated that Edith and Rose were getting along.
Right.
They were becoming friends. And you later on find out that he has been doing everything to keep Edith under his roof. Just even if it meant destroying her happiness, which you find out.
Right, because she had been engaged.
She had been engaged to a man named Sidney.
And he sent him away.
And Edith told Rose, he left me. But later on, you find out that the friends, as far as they're concerned, they said they heard from Sidney that Edith told him to go away.
She led him on.
And the truth was, it was the dad.
Right.
It was the dad who basically got rid of Sidney.
He sent him away.
And it's the dad who called
CPS.
Child services on Rose. Mm-hmm. And that's when the letters began. So obviously there's, Rose is going to be the prime suspect.
Sure. What did you think of the ending?
I love
when it's all revealed.
When it's all revealed, I love the ending. I loved that it wasn't just a simple thing. You actually do feel sympathy for Edith because of
even though what she's doing is
what she's doing is wrong. And you could see, she literally killed her own mom with the letter.
Right.
So it's getting out of hand, but she can't stop. She can't stop because you could see it every time there's a newspaper article or anything. You could see her suddenly swelling with pride, just glowing almost. And
because it was attention.
It was attention. Yeah. It was about her. She wasn't in the shadow. She wasn't the servant.
Right.
She was somebody doing the right thing. She was being asked, "Oh, would you like to perform a sermon at the church?"
Right.
And the father,
she was a model of piety and
she was a model and forgiveness and all of this.
Right.
Even though Rose was such a terrible person, she was willing to forgive her.
There's that scene where I think Police Officer Moss goes to her house the first time and she's talking and she actually had a stack of newspapers. Like, "Oh, would you like to take a copy?"
Yeah, it was just this pride. Was it this movie where, was it the dad who said pride could turn angels into devils or something like that?
No, she said that.
Yeah, I think she says it.
Oh, she said it herself.
Yeah, Edith said that.
So there's even that. There's that sort of in part of her mind. She is aware of what's happening to her.
Right. But she can't stop it.
But she can't. She just cannot stop.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that she would take it as far as she did. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end, when she is being put into the paddy wagon and her dad is like, "I know it wasn't you and I'll get you out." And she's like, "No, it was me. It was totally me.
And I'm never coming back.
And I'm never coming back." And he's like, No, you'll come back. We'll get you back." And he's like, "I don't want to come back." And then she just unloads with, "You pig."
Blah, blah, blah.
And then she's in the truck and you just hear her cackling, laughing. And that's Olivia Colman, like perfect. She played that wonderfully.
Yeah. She's really fantastic, isn't she?
She's really good, yeah.
It's so funny because I feel like my first exposure to her was like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she really can do like dramatic, very sensitive things. And like here, there's funny bits. There's a little bit more dramatic bits. There's more serious bits.
She's like dancing that line.
She dances that line. And then, like you said, that scene at the end where she just completely is like Joker laughing in the paddy wagon.
Yeah. She is like, so happy to be going to prison.
Yes.
Because I'm getting away from you, you monster,
miserable,
you terrible, miserable old man.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't blame her for laughing. I could see it. She did wrong.
No,
she 100%. Did wrong, but I definitely do have sympathy for this character.
Yeah.
And it's not manufactured. It's not anything. It's very well done. Like, the upbringing that she had would make her motives exactly like that.
Yeah.
It is a great example of a character.
Yeah.
That's how you make a character.
Yeah.
That's how you give that character that good story arc. Excellently done.
Yeah.
And also with Rose, she's this bawdy, and I'm going to have fun, I'm going to say what I say. And she becomes more part of, like, I guess, this community and also more she understands the value of her relationship with her daughter, and she also in her community, and she understands what's sort of like Edith. What's going on with Edith.
Yeah.
Even though she put her through this hell at the end when they pass by each other, you could see that it's sort of like there's no real animosity.
Or hate.
Like when Edith comes out of prison, she's going to be like, all right, fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even Edith says, like, I'll write you.
Yeah. And she's like, I'll brace for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny. She says why. And Edith's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's because it's the person who has that sort of mania, that craziness about them. They don't really know. It's just, I just need to. I have to do this.
These things. Yeah. Yeah. Gee, what did you think about the reveal about Rose and her daughter? It becomes the reveal in the courtroom. Like it becomes a big pivotal moment because obviously the lawyer's trying to poke holes because
he's trying to prove that she's like not of sound mind too,
or a good person because she's a liar.
Yeah.
So it comes out that Rose made up a husband that died in the war to cover up the fact that she had a daughter out of wedlock, which was a big deal back then. So tell me what you think about that scene, and then tell me what you think about, I mean, it's different now, right? People having children without having official married parents doesn't really matter. But as a kid in 2024, what do you think?
About bastard children?
Well, let's not call them bastard, but
illegitimate children.
Illegitimate children, I guess. I mean, it's such a weird word, right?
Yeah. It's like you're condemning a kid because of something that was not even in their control.
Yeah,
just a kid out of wedlock.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a big deal now.
I don't really care about them.
Yeah,
they're just people.
Yeah,
right.
There's no scandal about it, right?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. But could you imagine that was a big deal at one point? We were so conservative that was a big deal,
and that would have condemned her, even though they already previously released information that kind of exonerated her.
When Gladys collects all like the women, she's like, do you still think Rose did it? And they're like, were you even in the courtroom yesterday? So yeah, it was pretty obvious that she wasn't guilty.
Yeah.
And
yet it was still,
well, it was like she's the target that we've picked, so she has to go to jail. So if we can't get her for this,
right,
we're just gonna bring up something completely unrelated.
Right. To make the jury feel
also
that.
bad. That's bad now. And the judge will definitely be on our side now because, oh my God, look what she's done.
Yeah. Did you think that Rose was going to get it after that big reveal?
No.
No?
I knew that she would be walking out.
Oh, did you? I got scared for a minute. I was like, oh no, this isn't good for Rose.
Well, the tone of the movie kind of would say we're not going to end on such a downer.
Yeah.
So I was. That was another thing that I was glad about, was that it
kept an upbeat.
It not only kept an upbeat, but it was like, okay, the investigation isn't done. We're not going to sit down. We're not going to take this. We're going to get our justice. Mm-hmm. And Gladys is the one who's going to spearhead this. She gathers everybody, and it's like, okay, here's what we're doing. We're making the little secret die. We're selling the stamp.
Yeah.
We're doing everything.
So clever.
Very nicely done, and a nice little confrontation there at the end between Rose and Edith at the mailbox. Mm-hmm. Very, very well done. And
the niece in the mailbox.
Everything was so well done. I really like this.
Unbelievably so. Olive G, can I ask you a question about Gladys, please?
Sure.
So normally, I feel like when we've watched movies in the past, or at least when I was a young girl, most people were Caucasian. But here, you have a couple of characters who are not. And
it wasn't a big deal that they weren't equal.
And it wasn't a big deal. And I love that that's not like a big focus, right? Because I feel like, I have to be honest, when Bill appears, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if because he's a black man, if that's going to come into play here.
And it never does. It's literally never brought up.
Brought up.
Yeah.
If anyone is like villainized, it's Rose. It's
Because
never Bill, which is kind of interesting because I feel like in American cinema, somehow Bill would be thrown under the bus and sort of.
Well, if it was that type of movie, but this isn't that type of movie. Like, should it have mattered? It shouldn't have mattered. But we're talking about
early 1900s, right?
Early 1900s. And if you're trying to, I don't know, I guess keep things realistic, does it do a disservice to the movie that they never even address it, even though it would have been addressed?
I don't think so. I'm talking from living in 2024, right? But I think you're right. I think it would play a big part. That would have been like almost front and center in the courtroom. Right.
They're like, she's sleeping with a
person of color.
Yeah. And it's just not addressed. So what about the argument then? Like, why did they cast that man then?
He was the best one for the job.
They gave someone a role.
They gave someone a role.
Yeah.
Some people would say he was cast. He shouldn't have been cast. They should have just cast a guy that would have been more period appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, I guess.
Because now you're doing that, and you're not even addressing it in the movie. And in that time and place, it probably would have been addressed.
Big deal. Yeah. If anything, he would have been they never would have been a couple, right? Because I feel like even in this country, we. Like that Loving movie, right? They had to go to court.
Yeah. Well, that was the whole
validate their marriage.
Right. That was the whole focus of that movie, and that's how history was. That was a big focus.
Yeah.
And I don't care what country. It was more lenient, I guess, in Europe,
perhaps,
especially I think more after like World War II or whatever. But there weren't. I can't imagine there were a ton of interracial couples back then.
Yeah.
Especially out of wedlock.
Yeah.
Not being hidden about it or secretive about it. This is just
out in the open.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and it's sort of like, all right, by not addressing that, it seems kind of weird. So then why would you introduce that aspect to it? So it is, I don't know. It doesn't bother me at all.
It doesn't bother me at all. But I could see why.
I could see somebody else being kind of distracted by that and saying, well, why isn't that part of the story?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it could be somebody whose motives are good and somebody whose motives are bad. You got the whole argument. Oh, it's just you're just trying to be woke versus somebody else who's saying, "Oh, you're ignoring the
historical
the historical racism that would have accompanied that sort of thing."
Sure. So to that, I'm going to go back to Olive G and ask for Gladys Moss. She's obviously not. Or her lineage is certainly not from this particular place, but they've probably immigrated here. So she represents a woman of color living in England in the early 1900s who takes on the role that is typically a man's role. What do you think of the idea of somebody, kind of a foreigner, coming into this country, into England, to become a police officer? And she's also, and I think that they also mention in the story that she's college educated. Mm-hmm. This is now another layer, right? Because she's a woman, she's of foreign descent, and she's college educated. This is a very middle, lower class area where people aren't mostly probably not educated or college educated, right?
You were asking all of this question, and I don't think she paid a single bit of attention to a word you said.
Y'all seriously lost me when you guys started trailing off about racism or whatever.
All right.
I don't think. Once again, I don't think.
All right. Let's let Olive answer. What do you think of the fact that there's a woman of color, right? Because Gladys Moss does not look like the rest of the women in the story. So here's a woman of foreign ancestry who's come to this particular country.
I don't care.
I'm saying,
but she's just like, oh, okay, and like she's like everyone else. She just looks different. Like who cares?
Here's the thing. I don't believe her character was meant to be somebody like her. Ancestry was not something that was taken into account. She was discriminated against because she was a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I doubt the real. I doubt the real Gladys Moss was somebody from India.
Listen,
fair,
Mom, racism wasn't really a thing in this movie. Like, not really, at least.
Okay.
No, yeah, race was not ever addressed in this
sexism.
movie. So, it was
Sexism.
absolutely sexism, 100%.
Very
off.
good. Very
Excellent.
good. Excellent.
So they weren't being mean to her because she was Indian. In fact,
Well,
they weren't mean to they said your dad
Knew his place.
He knew his place, but as a subordinate, not as an Indian man.
Right, but I think that it's also implied because, at least, again, it's my interpretation, because I feel like her father probably never could rise through the ranks. He was probably just delegated some lower position, and he just did it because he liked what he did. And I feel like the daughter, even though she was super smart, I would have preferred her to be like a journalist or something else, or even a lawyer. But was it just because she idolized her father? It was like that picture, it looked like her father is holding her as a young child. So she goes sort of into the family business and also pursues this career in law enforcement. Meanwhile, she's surrounded by just ignorant coworkers, just blatantly ignorant, and then don't even care. And that scene towards the end when they're standing behind her and like, oh, I suspected her from the beginning. And she's just standing there and she has to bite her tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Because
No, you
it's
didn't,
like,
little bro. Like, you're not like that. You're not him.
you're not him is right. And
you
yet,
sure as hell did not know that it was her.
Well, I mean, I think that the evidence that her ethnicity or her origin didn't matter was the fact that it's never addressed with Bill. This film is not treating people of color as people of color. They're just part of the English townsfolk.
Yeah.
And it's never an aspect in anybody's mind as far as this film goes. Obviously, that probably wouldn't have been true in real life, but as far as this film goes, the reason for any discrimination was you're a woman. You shouldn't be a police officer. That's why we have to say woman police officer. If there was any problem with Bill, somebody would have said you don't think that dad wouldn't have just been busting out with some racial epithets?
Sure.
He got into a fight with him, like a physical altercation.
Yeah.
Never once said all the colorful language that they had for people of color back then.
Yeah.
Especially in England.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was an aspect.
So maybe that wasn't.
Yeah, this wasn't
an story, but
it wasn't an aspect of this movie. So, yeah, I don't think that Gladys was discriminated against because of her ethnicity. It was more for the fact that she was a woman. Plus, I mean, her last name was Moss.
Right.
Which
led me to believe that the real person, because at the end they sort of give a synopsis of what happens to the characters, was somebody else, right? Or looked different.
Probably, yeah. They just hired actors, and everybody did a great job.
Fantastic job. Fantastic. Yeah, again, really, really well done here. Very layered, very nuanced. I love all the strong women characters in this film. Yeah, just can't say enough good stuff about it. I just want to throw in a little IMDb trivia. According to IMDb trivia, Britain's first women police constables were employed in 1915, which is when this story takes place. An important example of women showing they were capable of doing previously exclusive men's work during the First World War and not standing down afterwards. I want to segue that little bit of movie trivia with our shout out or dedication. I want to dedicate this episode of the podcast to my wonderful and lovely friend, Christina D. Happy birthday, my friend. It is a privilege and an honor to know you. Much like the women in this story, you are colorful and vibrant and larger than life and just an amazing woman. Really, and I'm not saying that because we're friends, but because you are like Vegas lights at night. You shine and you pull everyone into your warmth and your love and your kindness. And walking with you is like walking with the Pope, because we get stopped all the time. And it's crazy because a walk that should take 2 minutes to get to the cafeteria usually takes 10 times longer, because everybody must pay tribute to you, as they should, my queen. But also just all your work in the diversity and inclusion space, which I am so in awe of and proud of you for, and just the way you go about mentoring younger people and empowering women and being at the table for everybody, not just yourself. I'm privileged and honored to know you, and to call you friend is the greatest gift ever. Love everything about this woman. She is the best of us. Happy birthday, my queen, and many, many more. Happy birthday, Christina.
Happy birthday, Christina.
And with that, we'll wrap it up, and we will bid you all a
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
good night.